What do we know about dyslexia or think we know? Let's dispel the myths behind this learning difficulty that is still to this day misunderstood. So, this week I go in search of answers, and I know just the man. Stuart! Oh my God, that was a coincidence. Listen, actually I was just thinking about you. I've been dying to pick your brains on dyslexia. You haven't got a minute, have you?
Yeah, I love to talk about dyslexia. Yeah, I was going to do an errand, but I got a bit of time.
Brilliant, let's go to the piazza and have a coffee.
Yeah, great.
Dying for a coffee. Mama. I was dying for a coffee, but also dying to see you, Stuart, because I'm absolutely fascinated about dyslexia. So there's a lot of, how can I say, like a bad reputation or misunderstanding about this dyslexia from many moons ago. So I want you to set the record straight.
Official terminology probably that would be used is a learning disability. We don't like to use the word disability. We don't believe it's a disability. It's a learning difference. So it's the way the brain processes information and sequencing and things like that differently. So what we would say is that society, and especially the education system, is what's disabling, but the person is not disabled. It often comes out in reading, writing and spelling, but there's lots of other things that I think the majority of people don't know about that it affects, because you process differently, you process a little bit slower, and that affects a lot of different other areas apart from reading, writing and spelling. But that's the main one that comes up because that's normally when it's recognized at school.
And of course, it's not nice to say, but it was a misconception for many, many years when it wasn't recognized in the way that it should be, that children weren't as bright if they had dyslexia because they were struggling with their spelling and reading, and because that was the main issue. And as a result of that, they were kind of left behind.
I was quite lucky, because my parents realized when I was pretty young, 7 or 8. So, normally the first few years of schooling, the child with dyslexia will get by quite comfortably. And when the reading, writing and spelling gets much more complicated, that's when it'll start getting more difficult. And that would range at the severity of the dyslexia, because dyslexia you can have it mildly or you can be very severe. And also the character of the person and the intelligence of the person. So obviously if you're very intelligent and you've got mild dyslexia, you'll mask it much better and you maybe get through even the whole education system. I mean, the amount of people come to me that tell me they found out that they were dyslexic in university is quite amazing how many people do that.
We've talked about reading and visuals with letters, but numbers obviously must be pose an equal problem. So how do you cope with arithmetic?
Well, I cope very well. My teachers have said that I get through it well, and I get the work done quite normally. But when it comes to my times table and things that I have to remember, that's most of my problem is the remembering.
How do parents in particular pick up on it? Because you say your mum and dad kind of thought something wasn't quite right at about the age of 8, 9.
Yeah.
What did they see, or what was it that they were picking up on? I'm just asking for other parents that might be watching.
Well, you can have signs before reading, writing and spelling. You think about things like delayed speech. These are just signs. Then they're not every dyslexic has this.
Yeah.
But delayed speech can be often a sign. If you have dyslexia in the family, and your child takes longer than usual to be talking, that can be a sign. Sometimes they have problems with their ears, glue ear and earaches.
Okay.
That's quite common for dyslexic children. They often take very long to find a dominant hand. So they may be writing with both hands, because directionality is an issue with dyslexics. A lot of dyslexics can't tell their right from their left.
Yeah.
So a lot of them can't drive because of that reason.
Really?
Yeah. So they have this directionality issue. So a lot of them write with their left and write with their right, and they're doing the both, you know, as kids until, you know, they take a little bit longer to find a dominant hand. Sometimes they're ambidextrous.
Yeah.
So there's little signs and symptoms that you can see earlier on before maybe even their reading, writing and spelling.
So children with dyslexia, difficulties they face are working memory, processing speed. It's vast and they're not all the same obviously, but those are very typical. Phonological awareness, so distinguishing the letters and the sounds. So normally you can sound something out to spell or read, but because that's an issue, reading and spelling becomes an issue. They do tend to find other ways and are very bright and find different ways of learning, but a lot of them suffer because they are quite bright. They kind of feel different. Obviously that has a knock-on effect on other things. It can affect their self-esteem. It can make them hesitant to read out loud in front of their peers. They might think they're stupid. You know, they just think, I can't do it. So it can be quite tough. But there, like I said, there is a lot more awareness now. And a lot of the means that help dyslexic children don't hinder other children. So most teachers will use lots of different routes to help them. But yes, they will find reading harder, spelling harder, and also organisation. So when it comes to remembering your homework and remembering your books and your PE kit and your, you know, instructions.
Yeah.
You give them too many instructions, they might just remember the last one.
If you can understand dyslexia, you're becoming to understand your child. And the more we understand our children, the more compassionate we are and the more patient we are. So it's really important that parents educate themselves to be able to, you know, understand their children, because it can be very frustrating. If you don't understand the dyslexic, it can be very frustrating. As a parent, you know, I'm dyslexic and I'm a parent and I've got 2 dyslexic children. And I know all the things I should be doing and I still make mistakes, you know. I'm a parent, I'm a human being, and I still can lose my temper when I shouldn't, when I know that it's just that they're struggling with their dyslexia. So looking back, I thank God and I thank my parents for all the good work, the support, and that is really important, because if you have that, you know, that support around you, it builds your self-esteem, and no matter what comes your way, you can deal with it. But obviously, you know, back then it wasn't like now that you have the internet, you can go online and you can find out loads of things quickly. My parents had to, you know, buy books, order books in the UK and go to the UK. I had to go to the UK for tests and stuff. To a certain extent, very different. I mean, to a certain extent, it was fun for me in a lot of ways, you know, going to the UK and stuff.
Got to go to the zoo.
Yeah, I got to go to the UK a lot when I was young, that, you know, my siblings didn't do. So that was quite fun. And then in school, it was difficult, you know, it was difficult. Like I said, at the time, a lot of the times I didn't realize what I was going through. But there was times, for example, then I may be in group 2 for English, for example, and my English spoken is pretty good, my knowledge of the English language is pretty good, but obviously my reading, writing and spelling doesn't match up.
Yeah.
So I would be maybe in group 2 for English, and my peers would, you know, hear me talk and think, well, this guy, what's he doing in here? He shouldn't be in here. And they would always just come to me for advice. Oh, Stuart, how do you write this? How do you write that? And I would be able to help with that. But then they would come and say, how do you spell this? And I was like, do you know why I'm here? You don't ask me for spellings. I can help you with grammar. I can help you with understanding things, but don't ask me about spelling, no?
On the teaching side of things, that's a massive issue. How do we progress in a way that we can implement those changes in Gibraltar? Do we have the right things in place? Are those children getting what they need now?
No, they're not getting it. I mean, some kids may be getting it, but not enough. I think there's 2 main elements in the education system. At least I'm trying to bring it down to 2. And the first one is recognition and recognizing the child's difficulties, strengths and weaknesses, maybe diagnosis. Not necessarily have to be diagnosed. You don't necessarily have to have a label. You know, we ask for the label because we think that will progress to the child getting the assistance they need.
The right assistance
Yeah.
for what they have, right?
But you know, you don't need a label to get assistance. All you need is the teachers and the education system know what their weaknesses are,
Yeah.
and how to tackle those to help the children with those areas. So we would say, look, so diagnosis, understanding, seeing what they need help with is the first step, which actually is part of the Made by Dyslexia pledge, which the Chief Minister signed 2 years ago. So Chief Minister signed the Made by Dyslexia pledge, so the whole of the civil service should be working towards that, and the education department is working towards that, to screen every child. So we wouldn't have what I said before,
Yeah.
children ending up going to university and finding out they're dyslexic, because
Slipping
they
through
would
the
have been
net,
screened. They would have been screened at regular intervals when they're young, and got the assistance they need. So that's number one. And then number two is the teachers having the correct training and the correct time and resources to teach the dyslexic children, or teach children in a way that is beneficial for dyslexics.
Yeah.
Because if you teach in a way that dyslexics benefit, everybody benefits. You don't have to take dyslexic children out of a class. You just treat everybody as a dyslexic and everybody benefits. Because the way that dyslexics learn, everybody learns that way as well. So it's just good practice, to be honest.
Claire, give us a little bit of background as to what you do with dyslexia, or is it just dyslexic children that you deal with?
No, right. So I've been a teacher for 18 years, and for the past 2 years, my job has been the school SENCO. So that's Special Educational Needs Coordinator. So in school, at work, I have different groups who struggle, be it with maths, English, and different things. I've known William for quite a while because he is in the school which I work in, and more recently I was having some children for extra lessons who are dyslexic, and I just noticed that a lot of the executive functioning skills, they were missing that. It was something that wasn't being taught, and I wanted to explore actually tutoring, rather than tutoring maths or English,
Yeah.
tutoring executive functioning skills. So I approached William's mum. I said, you know, would you be interested, just so that I can see how it goes.
So explain a little bit, what are executive functioning skills?
So they deal with lots of life skills, basically.
Right.
They help you with time management, organization, working memory, regulating your emotions. It just covers a whole spectrum of things. And the annoying thing is that the part of the brain that deals with this is not fully developed until up to the age of 25. Nor are those lessons taught in a very specific way. They might be indirectly, obviously. There are things that are done which sort of involve those skills, but they're not, some of them are missed.
Right.
And we kind of say things like, oh, you need to study. How? You know, we just expect them
I've
to
no
know.
idea how to study. A lot of people say that. It's a lot more
Exactly.
difficult when you
It
have to
is.
implement it. Yeah.
So I just thought it would be interesting to try on a one-to-one basis with William, teaching him things like using mind maps, using different ways of revision and to help your memory. I met him in school, so I've known him since about year 2, about 6 or 7. The past year I've had him in small groups in school, and I knew he was dyslexic, very bright boy, super interested in everything that you talk about. Struggles maybe more with his spelling, with writing. So if you ask William to tell you a story, it will be absolutely amazing.
I've heard William's stories
Absolutely,
before.
yeah, exactly. Super great imagination, amazing vocabulary,
Yeah.
oral skills, brilliant. Ask him to write it, and he gets overwhelmed.
Okay.
Becomes overwhelmed because there are lots of things that he has to do to focus, to put it on there, and it's exhausting.
William, what's it
Yes.
like being dyslexic for you?
Well, it's quite hard because at school I find reading and writing harder and spelling.
Okay.
Some people have different types though. Some people are dyslexic in math and English and writing and reading.
Okay,
No.
so how do you make things better with your reading and writing? Do you find it very difficult?
Well, one, you could use technology like dictating and like other stuff. With reading, you can get audiobooks. Spelling, you can try and like learn it in special methods. Like let's say, I know how to spell because well, yeah, I know how to spell because that my Miss Frances, my teacher, taught me this way. It says big elephants can attack ugly small elephants.
Oh wow! And you're always going to remember that because it's almost
So it's
exciting,
finding
isn't
different
it?
routes, finding ways that work for William.
Right. And how do you implement that though? I mean, it's easier said than done.
It's
surely.
difficult. It's using different techniques. So you're using visual techniques, auditory techniques, for example. William's been learning to dictate. So he dictates to the computer and it types it for him. So it's fine learning at first, it listens to you and it doesn't quite know what you're saying and you need to get used to that. But it's learning to do that. Using different visual techniques, using videos for comprehension and teaching the skills there. And then, okay, let's apply it to sort of reading the text. So there's
Is this
lots of different
something
things.
that maybe should be implemented in mainstream school? I mean, it doesn't hinder the average student's way of learning,
definitely.
does
I think this applies to all children and even, like I said, adults. Even at university, you would need these skills. So it definitely wouldn't hinder anyone. I think a lot of it is taught, like I said, indirectly. It depends on the subject, on the teacher. There are things that are taught when you're teaching them how to do a project, and you might model how to do a mind map. There are certain things. But with William, what I did in his first lesson, for example, was we spoke about growth mindset and fixed mindset. And those are terms that I wasn't familiar with until
Well, I
recently.
don't understand
No,
that. How
I
does
wasn't
he
familiar
do?
with. No, he didn't, so I introduced him
Yeah.
to that. So we were talking about how fixed mindset means that you think, oh, I'm good at this, I'm bad at this. Oh, and you think it's innate.
Oh,
I'm good
okay.
at football, I'm bad at maths, for example. And you can have a totally fixed mindset or a growth mindset, which means I can learn to do this. I did well because I worked hard. You might have a growth mindset, but have a fixed mindset for a very common one, maths,
Yeah.
for example. Just
Yeah.
think, I'm okay, I'm happy that I need to work at this one, but I can't do maths.
What does it feel like being in school around other people who don't have dyslexia?
It feels quite weird, but it's okay because I have my friend Amber and my other friends. Because some of my friends have dyslexia though.
Oh, they do?
Yeah,
Okay.
like Amber and Paulie.
Oh, okay. So you can talk to them
Yeah.
about it and
Yeah.
you can share
Because
stories.
they understand about it.
Yeah.
If I talk to my friends who didn't have dyslexia, they wouldn't understand a word I'm trying to tell them.
Right. And do you try and explain it?
I've tried, but they haven't understood me.
Okay. Does it scare you having dyslexia?
No, actually, I think it's superpower.
It is a superpower.
I think because it doesn't really help you in school, but when you're out of school, it helps you a lot.
So with William in particular, what does his future hold if he can learn and apply these skills to everything that he does right up until the workplace?
Yeah.
Will that help him in
Definitely.
the long run?
Yeah, I think he's got a very bright future ahead. And what I want to instill in William is knowing that he can achieve anything, and that just because some things are harder, and sometimes they're harder because you have dyslexia, but it doesn't mean that we say, oh, I don't do this at all. Because it's doing things that you find hard and doing things that you're going to fail in that make you take risks, make you try more things. And that's the kind of growth mindset attitude that's the first few lessons. That's what I want to work with William, that making mistakes means, I know this isn't the right way. That's great, I've learned something.
Yeah.
And failing isn't really failing. It's, this went wrong, which means, oh, I don't go that way, I go this way. And the more you do that, and the more you think, it didn't kill me, the more likely you are to try something else, try something new. And those are the people that make it, the ones who think, I'm not scared, I'm brave, it doesn't matter. Because if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. There's no such thing, because if it goes wrong, well, I know that way doesn't work.
Claire, if parents want to know about what you do and feel they could help, not just with the dyslexic children, you said, how can they get in contact with you and how does it all work?
At the moment, like I said, I've just approached people that I know. I mean, I'm on Facebook. If people wanted advice and want a little chat, I'm happy to do that and see how I can help. And hopefully in future, I will be able to do a lot more of this, and maybe in groups, depending on the age. It's important to also look at how you're feeling, and I touched upon that with William as well. You know, what part of your brain deals with how you're feeling and fight or flight and anger or stress, and what kind of things we can do, what habits you can develop. The kind of things I think nowadays a lot of adults are very aware and are trying to do, teaching them to do the same.
Stuart, you mentioned earlier that your parents were the founder of the dyslexic group, and you now are very much involved. What's happening there? How is that run? How is it benefiting our community?
Well, the Dyslexia Support Group is a charity, and one of the older charities in Gibraltar. So we're a support group, and we're here to help anybody who's dealing with dyslexia in any way. So it could be a parent, it could be a child, it could be a teacher, it could be the education department, or a business. So we are here to support, educate, build awareness, and bring support to help people understand, what dyslexia is about and how to live with dyslexia. So a lot of the things that we do is kind of on a support element. So I get a lot of calls, we get a lot of calls and emails from parents, normally parents who are concerned, but sometimes we get teachers calling as well, because maybe they're dyslexic or they think they may have a child who's dyslexic in their class. And then we do things like we've done with the Made by Dyslexia Pledge, and things that we do. We support the government and the education department to carry on building awareness for the children and parents. So we're here just to support. Obviously we have a flag day which helps to raise money for all the things that we do. We donate books. We do the bookmark competition. If the bookmark competition is open at the moment, and the closing date is Friday the 8th of October, which actually is World Dyslexia Day.
Oh,
so
excellent.
Friday the 8th of October is World Dyslexia Day, and we're asking everybody to wear red on that day.
Okay.
So if you want to support dyslexia, please wear red.
I'll wear red.
Take a photo, put it on social media, and and we try and promote dyslexia on World Dyslexia Day, which is Friday the 8th of October. We're telling everybody to do that if they can. Businesses, politicians, charities, just to support dyslexia on that day.
And anybody, parents or otherwise, that may have concerns, worries, or a simple question, how do they contact you? Do you have a Facebook page, email?
Yeah, we've got email, it's info@dyslexia.gi. We've got our website, which is dyslexia.gi, and we've got Facebook as well, Gibraltar Dyslexia Support Group on Facebook. We've got Twitter as well, and we've got a mobile number, which is my mobile number, which is on Gibraltar and everywhere else. So yeah, I think we've covered our bases.
You're contactable.
Yes, we should
Excellent.
not have any problem contacting us.
What of your future? What do you do? How does it affect you on a day-to-day? Work, for example.
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously over the years, you learn tricks and things like that. I spent about 15 years in the police, in the Gibraltar Defence Police. So that's a very hands-on kind of job. Now that I work more in an admin responsibility and job, I just, I've done it a lot with the Dyslexia Support Group. I've had to write articles, I've had to write emails, I've had to do interviews and stuff. So it's obviously a lot of years of experience, but also nowadays, modern technology is amazing.
Yeah.
So, we've got word processors, and, we've got spell checking. Now I use Grammarly a lot. That helps, check my work, and obviously just practice. And now I know, I still struggle with a lot of things, Sometimes there's certain words that I spell on the computer, and the computer can't figure out what I'm trying to say. Not even a spell check can get it.
Really?
And I can't figure it out, and I don't know what to do. So what I do is I just go into Google and I speak it out. And then Google normally
so you
can
find
it.
little
Find a
shortcuts
routes,
and where, yeah.
Some words, I've struggled with, and I still struggle with to this day. I may come to the same words in the same day 3 or 4 times, and I still can't remember how to spell it. So, you find those tricks and tools. Obviously, having people to check your work and things like that is very helpful, which I would recommend to anyone, even if you're not dyslexic. But having people who understand you around you is very helpful. Having bosses who understand, having colleagues who understand, having family and friends who understand. Because a lot of the time, dyslexics can achieve everything that a non-dyslexic can achieve. We just may take a little bit longer, we may do it in a different way. So it's just, if you have that, that structure and that support system around you who understands, then, it's not really that a bigger issue.
Yeah.
I think it's more of an issue, like I've said in the past, when the system makes you disabled. Like these stairs behind you, The stairs are disabling if you're on a wheelchair, but if you had a ramp, then it wouldn't be disabling.
It's a very good point, that. It's a great way to look at it.
So the system is what's disabling.
Yeah.
In our schools, you're judged by how you read, write and spell. You're intelligent or you're not intelligent if you write and spell well. It is the system that's disabling and not the person who's disabled. And it's, if you have, if you can understand what I'm trying to say in my writing, even though I've got a few spelling mistakes, does it really matter?
Does it really matter?
It doesn't really matter.
I agree
think
with you.
That once we get to that kind of point in society where, people are not judged because they misspell words or they can't, structure their sentences, Oxford English. Once, society gets to that point where we don't judge people by how they read, write and spell, it will be a great day for dyslexics.